Okay, I'm going to show you how to use the shatter effect. Okay, so what I'm going to do is start out with this picture here. It could be anything you can shatter. And let's just go ahead and make it fit the picture a little better. Okay, and so I have this picture of a house, and I have a shatter effect. If I apply the shatter effect to the layer, by default what happens, you'll notice that the view here goes from wireframe and forces. So you could change it to be rendered so you could see what the thing will look like, or you might want to, we're going to start out with wireframe and forces. Okay, so if you look at this object here, you'll see something here that says camera position. So I can get a better idea of what's going on if I change the camera to the side. Okay, do you see these blue lines here? This represents the thing that is going to be exploding, the object. So this is what the force looks like. The force looks like this blue thing. So if I go and twirl down the force, I can change the radius so it's a smaller thing. Okay, and then changing the depth will have the thing move in and out. By default, when you apply the shatter effect, it goes into this wireframe view. And so you can kind of see a couple of things are default. By default, it creates bricks, and it also makes it wireframe so you can't see your image. So if you want to see your image, you have to change it to, in the shatter effect control window, you go to where it says rendered, and so now you can kind of see the picture is exploding. Now what I'm going to be doing though is I want to create an explosion of just this window here. But first let's talk a little bit about the shatter effect. Okay, so shatter is the only effect, or one of the only effects, that actually creates a 3D model in After Effects. It's limited to what it could do, but you can see that these objects here are actually three-dimensional. So if I pull down the shape, you'll see something here that says extrusion depth. And so you can make these objects thicker based on what you want it to do. Okay. Now what I'm going to be doing though is, let's go ahead and move back out so you can see the thing. The fact that the whole thing is shattering in this way, we're going to need to fix to make it look like the window is shattering. And so by default it comes up as bricks. But if you click under shape pattern, you'll see that there's a whole bunch of other things that you can use as a model of what it is you want to shatter with. Like here's these chevrons. Okay, crescents, eggs, if you want eggs. Alright, so you can kind of see. But the one that I am looking for is going to be glass. Okay? And so right now, my object does this. So if I change the camera angle of the Y rotation, you can get a better idea of what's going on. Okay, so let me blow this up a little bit. So here the blue force, let me pull it back here, is what's causing the explosion. So you're actually going to animate the depth to make the explosion occur. So I'm going to turn on the depth in the force 1, and let's go ahead and move it back. Alright, and then we'll move it in time. And we want this thing to travel through the object. And so this is the force that's making the thing explode. Okay. Now, also, this is a really big thing. So maybe you want to have like a baseball that's going through the window. So you have to just make the object a lot smaller, and then you animate that object coming through it, and then it has a smaller explosion. And so let's go ahead and look back at the rendered. Now they don't look like glass, they're too thick, so let's make the exclusion depth a lot less so. Maybe just like a few pixels. Alright, also I want more of these things, so these repetitions, I want it to really have a lot of things that blow up. Alright, and then you have physics, which means you can say I want more gravity so that after the thing explodes, it comes flying downwards. That's pretty cool. Okay. I think I want more of these things too. And you can also change the mass variance and viscosity, meaning like how much they move away from each other. You can randomize what happens with this stuff instead of it kind of having a formal look to it. So look at that. That's starting to look pretty good. All right, so now if we're looking at this, let's make this 0 again. And when it comes through, look at that. Let's do a I'm going to make this, the force goes back in and out here. So we might have to put something behind that so that when it explodes, there's not just black behind it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the illusion that this window is getting blown out. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to remove this shatter effect for now, and we'll start again here. But what I want to do is select this layer and create a mask of this thing here. So I'm going to just create this little mask, and I want to adjust that a little bit. So let's click away and then back in, because I want to make sure that it's right on the frame of this window. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually duplicate this layer so that I have one layer that has the explosion on it. So I have this layer and I have the whole house layer. Okay, and in between this house, I'm going to be in between these two layers, I have this room here, which allows me to have something behind it, so when the window explodes, there'll be something there. So what I'm going to do now is, with this layer here, I want to put this one on the top. So I'm going to make the window be on the top. All right, and right now I've just hidden this other layer here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply the shatter just to this layer of the masked window. All right, I put that there. And by default, like I said, this comes up the way it is here, which isn't really terribly helpful at the moment. But it gives you an idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to wireframe and forces. I'm going to change the shape of these things to be glass. All right, I want more repetitions. And let's change the camera angle. I'll rotate the Y so we can kind of see this. What's going to go on. The extrusion, again, I have to make it thinner. And let's change let's see what's going on right now. So right now it's exploding out like this. All right, that's pretty good. Okay, and so now let's see what's happening here. So it's blowing out the wrong way. Okay, so I'm going to change this force a little bit. All right, so I can see my windows over here. So let's change the force size to the radius about the size of that window. All right, and let's rotate this around a little bit so we can kind of see what's going on. All right, and the position, I'm going to have to rearrange this position to kind of come through where the window is. All right, so here we can kind of see what's going on. And I want to change I need to see front forces. All right, so let's change the position of this object to be behind the window. Let's make it smaller. And it's going to come up a little bit. So now when it explodes, let's see what it's going to do. We're going to animate the depth. So it's going to start there, and then it's going to come flying out. That's pretty good. However, I need a lot more repetitions. Okay, I want to have a lot of these guys here. Okay, let's take a look at what it's looking like. All right, I want it to kind of, depending on the type of explosion, maybe I want to increase the force, change the force maybe a little larger so that the whole thing kind of blows out. And I want even more of these objects. And I want it to affect the physics of it. I want it to go down after it comes out the window. All right, so let's see what it's looking like. Maybe not quite so heavy. Let's change the gravity up a little bit. And the strength of it, we can make it how strong. It's gonna be a big explosion. All right, so let's see what it's looking like. That's getting pretty good. So now let's go ahead and turn on this bottom layer, and let's do a pre-render. Okay. So we're gonna have to. So when I had duplicated that layer, I had the mask. So I have the same mask in two different places. One of them I have as add. The top layer has the mask is add, and the bottom layer is inverted. So what happens is when it explodes, it's just exploding at this point from that top window there. Okay. And let's go ahead and take something and put it behind there. Doesn't matter what. Let's maybe let's change the scale of this a little bit so that we see something back there. Okay, it's a little bright, so maybe I'll just go ahead and take the levels and put that on that layer here, and let's darken that up a little bit. So there's a room back there. You know, maybe I want to have a person or whatever, but so this explodes out. And look at that. I've created this explosion by duplicating these two layers, creating a mask for both of those layers and making one be the opposite. And then I have something behind it. Now we can spend a little bit more time trying to make that look better. Maybe it's like if it's really you know, blowing out in a way due to an explosion, and you can have fire flying through this if you really want to as well. But that's not bad if you add a sound effect. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I have a sound effect I'm going to put underneath here. And I'm going to twirl this down because I need to see where it actually makes the noise. So if I twirl down the waveform, this is really where it explodes. And so I'm going to edit the beginning here and see where does the explosion occur. Right about there. So I'm just going to move this here. And then I'm going to create, you can see the explosion lasts way beyond I need it to. So I need it to fade out by the time over here. And everything's out of frame. And so here I'm going to create another keyframe, and let's see where those frames are, and I'm going to then have it fade out at this point. Alright, so let's pre-render that. Alright, not too bad. Or you can have Suzanne Summers. Look at that. I love it.